and 12 years ago. Tears are flowing from my eyes, the thorns of death, and she will more dedicated to the holy grasses. I know Krishna, God, and it shall remain so. Spiritually, I must be lovely as a sinless, or makes it open hearted, but not in the soul. He is completely free to do anything and everything. Why is always my Lord, and not able to be beyond the
Which way does the sun move? Which way does it move? This way.
It goes from us.
Goes that way, right? Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, AC Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Grantara Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki Nitai Gaur Brahmanandi. All glories to the Samurti, all glories to the Samurti, all glories to the Samurti. Glorious of glories to Shri Guru and Brahma Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Yasya Agatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhakti Naistiki Hare Krishna. Good morning. You can hear me? Now you can come to morning and shower. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming to this morning Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class. We're reading from Canto 5, the creative impetus, Chapter 4, the characteristics of Vrishabhadeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are reading from and discussing text 5. As usual, this is written in prose, so I'll just chant that and we can go through the synonyms and translation. Viditanuragam aparo prakriti Janapado Raja Navid Atmajam Tamaya Setu Rakshayam Abhisitya Brahmaneshu Panitaya Sahameru Devya Vishalayam Prasanna Nipudena Tapasa Samadhi Yogena Nara Narayanakyam Bhagavantam Vasudevam Upashina Kalena Tan Mahimanam Avakva. We do have.
Yeah, we have. Just sometimes with the Zoom, it just it goes but it's fine.
We might do both.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Śrīmad.
Haribo, can you receive it? Good? Okay. All right, so let's do the synonyms. Vidita, known very well. Anuragam, popularity. Aupara Prakriti, among all the citizens and government officers.
On all the citizen and government officers.
Jana Padaha, desiring to serve the people in general. Raja, the king. Nabihi, Nabi, Atmajam, his son. Samaya Setu Rakshayam, to protect the people strictly according to the Vedic principles of religious life. Abhisichya, enthroning. Brahmaneshu, to the learned Brahmanas. Upanidaya, entrusting. Saha, with. Merudevya, his wife Merudevi. Vishalayam, in Badrikashram. Prasanna Nipunena, performed with great satisfaction and expertise. Tapasa, by austerities and penances. Samadhi Yogena, by full samadhi. Nara Narayana Akyam, named Nara Narayana. Bhagavatam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudevam, Krishna. Upashinaha, worshipping. Kalena, in due course of time. Tat Mahimanam, his glorious abode, the spiritual world Vaikuntha. Avapa, achieved. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai. King Nabi understood that his son Rishabhadeva was very popular among the citizens and among government officers and ministers. Understanding the popularity of his son, Maharaj Nabi enthroned him as the emperor of the world to give protection to the general populace in terms of the Vedic religious system. To do this, he entrusted him into the hands of learned Brahmanas who would guide him in administrating the government. Then Maharaj Nabi and his wife Meru Devi went to Badrikashrama in the Himalaya mountains, where the king engaged himself very expertly in austerities and penances with great jubilation. In full samadhi, he worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nara Narayana, who is Krishna in his plenary expansion. By doing so, in course of time, Maharaj Nabi was elevated to the spiritual world known as Vaikuntha. Please repeat. King Nabi understood that his son Rishabhadev was very popular among the citizens and among government officers and ministers. Understanding the popularity of his son, Maharaja Nabi enthroned him as the emperor of the world to give protection to the general populace in terms of Vedic religious system. To do this, he entrusted him into the hands of learned Brahmanas who would guide him in administrating the government. Then Maharaj Nabi and his wife Meru Devi went to Badarik Ashrama in the Himalaya mountains, where the king engaged himself very expertly in austerities and penances with great jubilation. In full samadhi, he worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nara Narayana, who is Krishna in his plenary expansion. By doing so, in course of time, Maharaj Nabi was elevated to the spiritual world known as Vaikuntha. Purport: when Maharaj Nabi saw that his son Rishabhadeva was popular with the general populace and the governmental servants, he chose to install him on the imperial throne. In addition, he wanted to entrust his son into the hands of the learned Brahmanas. This means that a monarch was supposed to govern strictly according to Vedic principles under the guidance of learned Brahmanas, who could advise him according to the standard Vedic scriptures like Manusmriti and similar Shastras. It is the duty of the king to rule the citizens according to Vedic principles. According to Vedic principles, society is divided into 4 categories: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Chaturvanyam mayasistum gunakarma vibhagasaha. After dividing society in this way, it is the king's duty to see that everyone executes Vedic principles according to his caste. A Brahmana must perform the duty of a Brahmana without cheating the public. It is not that one attains the name of a Brahmana without the qualifications. It is the king's duty to see that everyone engages in his occupational duty according to Vedic principles. In addition, retirement at the end of life is compulsory. Maharaj Nabi, although still a king, retired from family life and went with his wife to a place called Badarik Ashrama in the Himalayas, where the deity Nara Narayana is worshipped. The words Prasanna Nipunena Tapasa indicate that the king accepted all kinds of austerity very expertly and jubilantly. He did not at all mind living his comfortable life at home, although he was the emperor. Despite undergoing severe austerities and penances, he felt very pleased at Badarik Ashrama, and he did everything there expertly. In this way, been fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, Samadhi Yoga, always thinking of Krishna, Vasudeva, Maharaj Nabi attained success at the end of his life and was promoted to the spiritual world, Vaikuntha Loka. This is the way of Vedic life. One must stop the process of repeated birth and death and return home back to Godhead. The words Tan Mahimanam Avapa are significant in this regard. Srila Sridhara Swami says that Mahima means liberation in this life. We should act in such a way in this life that after giving up this body, we will become liberated from the bondage of repeated birth and death. This is called Jivan Mukti. Srila Veera Raghava Acharya states that in the Chandogya Upanishad, there are 8 symptoms of a Jivan Mukta. A person who is already liberated even when living in this body. The first symptom of one so liberated is that he is freed from all sinful activity. Apahata papa. As long as one is under the clutches of Maya in the material energy, one has to engage in sinful activity. Bhagavad Gita describes such people as duskritinaha, which indicates that they are always engaged in sinful activity. One who is liberated in this life does not commit any sinful activities. Sinful activity involves illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. Another symptom of a liberated person is vijara, which indicates that he is not subjected to the miseries of old age. Another symptom is vimrityu. A liberated person prepares himself in such a way that he does not take on any more material bodies which are destined to die. In other words, he does not fall down again to repeat birth and death. Another symptom is vishoka. It indicates that he is callous to material distress and happiness. Another is jigatsa, which indicates that he no longer desires material enjoyment. Another symptom is apipata, which means that he has no desire other than to engage in the devotional service of Krishna, his dear most pursuable Lord. A further symptom is satyakama, which indicates that all his desires are directed to the Supreme Truth, Krishna. He does not want anything else. He is satya sankalpa. Whatever he desires is fulfilled by the grace of Krishna. First of all, he does not desire anything for his material benefit. And secondly, if he desires anything at all, he simply desires to serve the Supreme Lord. That desire is fulfilled by the Lord's grace. That is called Satya Sankalpa. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out that the word Mahima means returning to the spiritual world, back home, back to Vaikuntha. Sri Shukadev says that the word Mahima means that the devotee attains the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is called Sadharma, or the same quality. Just as Krishna is never born and never dies, his devotees who return to Godhead never die and never take birth within the material world. Mamagyanatimirandasya jananjana shalakaya chakshujanmilitam yena tasmai shri guruve namaha mukam garati vachalam pangum langete girim yatkipadam amandi shri gurum dinatanam paramanandamadim shri chaitanya ishwar Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Vadodaya Pushmanto Chitra Sandavtamodita. Okay, once again, let me read the translation. King Nabi understood that his son, Rishabhadev, was very popular among the citizens and among government officers and ministers. Understanding the popularity of his son, Maharaj Nabi enthroned him as the emperor of the world to give protection to the general populace in terms of the Vedic religious system. To do this, he entrusted him into the hands of learned brahmanas who would guide him in administrating the government. Then Maharaj Nabi and his wife Meru Devi went to Badrikashram in Himalaya mountains, where the king engaged himself very expertly in austerities and penances with great jubilation. In full samadhi, he worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nara Narayana, who is Krishna in his plenary expansion. By doing so, in course of time, Maharaj Nabi was elevated to the spiritual world known as Vaikuntha. Okay, so this is it. In one sense, it's a leadership transition. That's one aspect of it. Yeah. And the other thing you can see is this is how the Vedic system is, the model that they adopt. And Maharaj Nabi is exemplifying how he is using it also. He shows how a leader actually transitions from being a responsible king to completely, you can say, retirement or renunciation. From worldly duty to spiritual perfection. We know he attained Vaikuntha because the verse itself says he went back to Godhead. Therefore, his life demonstrates that the Vedic leadership is guided by the Brahmanas, because the verse also says he handed his sons to the Brahmanas to guide his son. So therefore, the whole system is grounded in Vedic Dharma, ultimately aimed at liberation, Jivan Mukta, and going back to Godhead. Okay, pretty much that's what the whole idea is. So you can see within this verse what Vedic governance is all about, how they manage their city, the country, the whole world. And part of this governance includes varnashram responsibilities. Everyone has a part to play in society. Generally, they must fall into these four categories: Brahmana, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. They must fall. If they don't fall, then they are uncivilized people, Milechas, Yavanas, etc., and so on. Otherwise, the society may not function the way it's meant to function. In general, in Vedic culture, the whole idea behind the society and the varnashram system is to promote and elevate the consciousness of each individual to come to God consciousness. Yes, every one of us have duties to perform, that's fine. But in terms of doing the duties, one will come to the point of understanding his relationship with the Supreme Lord, and thereby function in such a way that he can get back to Godhead in this very lifetime. Okay. So this is how also you can say the culture was, and how if they were doing very well, they look forward to their retirement. Yeah. And nowadays, we don't find people looking forward to retirement. They think of ways to extend their retirement until they put them in their coffin, they still will fight. Yeah. Right? They don't want to give up because they don't know what the goal of life is. They're thinking, I have to keep working, and therefore they suffer in the sense that they are so attached to so many things and they cannot give up. And so they are in constant distress. And towards the end of their life, as they go through pain and disease and so on, they can't function properly. They can't do much, right? As you get older and older, your bodily function also decays and then stops functioning, and all you're worried about is how to get better. But here you can see the whole system is set up in such a way, the Vedic culture sets it up, that you are always thinking of how to go back home, back to Godhead. Even we don't wait until we are totally in a very difficult situation in our life to then think of God. You know? The whole idea is while you are healthy and functioning properly, start focusing on meditation and practicing of Krishna consciousness, at least for us. This is what Prabhupada wanted. The other thing you can also gather from this verse, and Srila Prabhupada also mentions in the Prabhupada also, that Nabi was a very good king, and he could recognize that before even he retired, he could recognize the citizens actually loved his son. There's a similar personality also in our scripture who loved the son of a king so much. Lord Ramachandra. Right? Same thing, the citizens loved him so much. Everyone, even the ministers, every single person loved him. But of course, there was a different reason for Ram not ascending. But here you can see Nabi recognized that, and just like Dasaratha also recognized that, he wanted to put his son in the throne, but due to the Leela aspect, Ram never ascended at that time. Here Nabi recognizes, and immediately he realized, I shouldn't be continuing. Taking hold of this is mine. No one's going to take my throne. So he's very convinced, and he also understands that his son is very qualified. That's the other thing. We don't just give them someone your position unless you know they are capable, qualified, and able to lead properly. Leaders should always think like that. So not out of sentiment here, but because there's a lot of trust in terms of, just like, even in amongst ourselves, if you want someone to lead, you must have belief and trust in them. Then you can follow them. Otherwise you won't. And for us, we also know, and remember in the earlier verses, Nabi had the son, who is his son? He prayed for the Supreme Lord Narayana to take birth as his son. He wanted the Lord to be his son. Of course, so therefore we also know he's divinely qualified. And we know because of all these qualities, he's able to protect his citizens. Generally, the citizens are known as Praja. Praja means for the king, he's just like his family members. So therefore, he extends his protection to everyone. In fact, he sees them as his family members. He wants to make sure they all are taken care of very nicely. But nowadays, this is not the case, right? In the modern society, there's no such concept as a Praja for the leaders. They are hoping everyone will die, that they can get the money for themselves like that. They want to make profit of their own citizens. They'll tax their own citizens, and you'll find how people curse the leaders. So much cursing going on, and in that way, the jiva who's in that position probably suffers more in his next life. And the leadership is not a hereditary privilege also. It's not something that, unlike in, although he's the son of a king, generally we'll think the prince or whoever will take over. But it's not based on that. It's based on whether he is qualified to rule or not. Yeah. So it's based on responsibility and qualification. Now, and then you see the next sentence, he says he entrusts his son to the Brahmanas, because the king is very powerful, very powerful. And if he's independently ruling without the guidance of the Brahmanas, then it will be chaos. Chaos. He doesn't understand the rules, the meaning behind the Vedas, and why he has to rule in a certain way, the purposes. If he doesn't know all that, then there's going to be a lot of problems in society. So who was in the fourth canto, who was the king who ruled in a nasty way?
King Vena.
King Vena, right? You all know that King Vena. So he did not want to follow. He claimed that the king is recognized as the Supreme Lord. So everyone should stop worshipping Narayana but worship him. Right? So, and then not only that, he was indiscriminately killing people and all kinds of nonsense he was doing. So much so, he was so terrible that even the country's criminals were hiding from him. Okay. So generally, the king rules under scriptural guidance, under the guidance of the Brahmanas. So after retirement, what does Nabi do? Nabi retires to Badrikashram. So he has a goal, he knows what to do. So similarly, you can all ask yourself after your retirement where you're going to go. Where would you go? Have you already decided? Have you planned? Yeah. No. You should be thinking, you know, we are not getting younger. Right? Last time we checked, we are not getting younger. So you have to ask, what will I do? Many people out there, I have also, you know, ordinary friends out there, and they are afraid because they don't know what to do. They only know the life that they have lived, and then they are like, what am I going to do, you know? There's in prison, the prisoners who do life sentence and so on, they live for how long? Many years in the prison. And so they get used to their prison life for many, many years. And then at a certain time, before their life term finishes off, some of them are given the opportunity, they are free. They say, okay, you're old, you've done your term, go. And in terms of the reactions they have, some of these people, they cannot live outside the world because they don't know what it is like. And so they have a lot of psychological trauma. They don't know what to do. And statistics show that many of them commit suicide when they go out because they can't handle it, you know. And some of them, they commit crimes so that they can come back into prison. Yeah. So in the same way, if we are not prepared for retirement, then we will do things that we may not be happy with later on. Yeah. So it's very important to work out what you want to do. Some devotees, what they do is they go on pilgrimage, 6 months in India, travel around, come back, and do some service in the temple and so on. Others who are more adventurous, they go out preaching. They go, husband and wife, go on maybe a trailer, and then they travel around. Very rare, but there are couples like that. Most people just want to stay at home, do their own worship a little bit, but you know, if you just want to stay at home, then what is the service you can do? What are the contribution to the society? What can you do? So it's very important. Huh? Retirement is not for us to escape. You know, okay, I've done everything. I have done my career. I've been a good devotee. Now I can do what I want to do. Yeah, it's not like that. You should be. In fact, we should become more focused in how to go back to God. The intensity must be there. You have to up the intensity. So in this way, Srila Prabhupada highlights the role of a king, what he must do until the point of time when he has to hand over leadership succession. So similarly, some of you are leaders. Do you have a succession plan? Do you know? Have you identified? You know? Yeah, it's asking. Have you? So there must be. We have to always think because none of us are going to be here forever. And we should always train others, which is therefore what our Vedic culture is all about. From the time you're born, you've been trained. What are you trained in? Trained to understand the purpose in life, how you can go back to Godhead. Yeah? Otherwise, the society after some time will fall apart. Everyone will do their own thing, and then they'll say, you just do what you want. I know what I'm doing. Right? And when we do our duties, it should be done without cheating anyone else, And the role of the king or the leaders within our society must make sure each individual in our temple or even the greater society, are they actually following religious principles? You'll be surprised how often people don't, or even devotees sometimes don't. They'll profess to say, I'm following, but then the next moment you see them at Starbucks or someplace buying salad. Don't care whether it's contaminated. Or they think it's okay, as long as it's not in sight, out of mind, out of sight. Right? It doesn't work. So leaders means they need to make friendship with their followers in such a way that there's trust so that they can guide them nicely. That the followers will know this person is my well-wisher. They care for me. So it's very important. And the other thing Srila Prabhupada said was retirement is compulsory. Why is he saying compulsory? So that you can have enough time to get ready to go back to Godhead. So you have to start now. You cannot start at the end. A lot of people, especially from India or Indian background, they say when young boys who come up to become serious, they say, "Why are you doing it? Wait until you retire." Yeah. But oftentimes, you can't teach old dogs new tricks. And so if you're used to a certain way, habits, everything that you conduct yourself in such a way that it's ingrained into yourself, so hard to give up, so difficult. So therefore, we read here how Nabi embraced austerities and penances. Why? Because when we are, especially for grihastas, you tend to accumulate. And when you accumulate, there's a tendency to become attached to it. So one of the key things or idea behind grihastha is to practice charity. So you are not attached to it. Perform charity, help others. If you have more, one of these Vedic principles is if you have more, you should share or give others. You cannot accumulate. Then you become miserly. And then your practice becomes shallow. And you'll never go back to Godhead. So the whole point in retirement or taking vanaprastha is that one should not die in your household. Like Ajamil, right? He was 80 years old and he had a 5-year-old son, something like that, and he was dying. But, it's good fortune for him. Do you think we all can just at that moment say, Narayana, Krishna? We hope, we can hope. But if you haven't prepared, it's not possible. Just like you see in some sports, maybe table tennis, how fast they are reacting, right? To the balls, when the ping pong balls comes back, so fast they're reacting. How is it? They were training it. Training, and more training. So in the same way, when we are practicing Krishna consciousness, we are actually training. Training for the final test. There's only one test actually. Everything else is just part of your journey. But there's one major test. And we have to pass that. So therefore, one must prepare to go back to Godhead, and you must do whatever you can. You can only do it if there's urgency. If you don't have urgency in your life regarding going back to Godhead, you will never do it. You will never do it. You just keel over and die. And so practice detachment from comforts in your home, Doesn't mean you have a bed, you sleep on the floor at home. Not like that, Yeah. It's not like that. That means don't become attached to many of the things that you were used to. Yeah. Don't go on a cruise and thinking I've retired. Time to enjoy, All these are only creating newer and newer impressions in your mind, And therefore, it may happen that at the time of death, you may be thinking of in a cruise ship. Yeah. Then you may have to take birth as either a seagull or a rat on one of those cruise ships. So become detached from material comfort, whatever you have, if you have a big house, let's say you have a big house that's like 6 rooms, and you're only staying in 1 room with your wife and yourself, what's the use of having the 6 rooms? So downsize, sell it and go to a 2 or 3 room, 1 room for yourself, 1 for your wife, and 1 for guests if they visit, or your children if they come. You have to downsize, otherwise you'll think this is all me. I am this house, right? So we should embrace, in that sense, a spiritual austerity. Increase chanting. This is what Nadi was doing. So much austerity. And he was doing it. How was he doing it? Joyfully, jubilantly. So even Krishna says, right, if you have this knowledge, Su Sukham Kartum Abhyayam, you work happily, joyfully. So retirement is not a loss in this case. It's joyful. Prasanna, that's the word, right? Prasanna nipunena tapasa. It's joyfully performed. We ask someone to even mop the temple room, they'll be just dragging their face around. So much joy. So naturally, it's coming out. Right? It should be liberating, actually. You should think, Gaunida is so kind, they've allowed me to do this service. We become grateful, actually, when we get service. We develop gratitude. Of course, towards the second paragraph, Srila Prabhupada talks about this. There are 8 symptoms. When you are doing service for the Lord, what is that verse? Manasa gira jivan mukta sauchate. Can you remember? Yes, yeah, that's right. Hare Dasya. Yeah. One becomes a devotee of the Lord, Hari Das, serving the Lord. Then he's controlled his senses, completely. Then at that stage, Rupa Goswami says it's Jivan Mukta. So Prabhupada here highlights them, Apahata Papa, that means free from sin, and he immediately highlights the 4 regulative principles. So we should be very careful, how we follow these principles nicely. Esham tu antagata papam jananam punya karmanam, right? You cannot perform devotion unless you are free from sin. So therefore, it's you should use your keen intelligence and see how you may be taken away from doing the services, how you can also become overwhelmed by some of these sinful activities. You have to be very careful. You never know. And then free from old age miseries. What does it mean? It means your consciousness is unaffected by becoming old. That's what it is. Not that the body doesn't age. It doesn't age. No, you get old. You get body pains and aches, but you're not worried about those things. Your focus is, I have to do more for Krishna. I want to make sure I'm completely thinking or remembering Krishna. So that's vijara. And then vimrityu, free from repeated death. It's in the purport in the second paragraph here. So once you are focused completely, you can be assured that no more birth. One who takes up devotional service, he does not take birth again, purely, of course. But if you don't have faith in that process, and if you don't do devotional service, then Krishna says what? Mrityu samsara vatmani. That you cannot practice again Krishna consciousness. Rather, you will come to take repeated birth and death. We should be very aware of these things. Become afraid. You have to become afraid of taking birth. Right? How many of you are planning, I'll come again and try. Next time I'll do better. You cannot. You cannot think that we'll have a better opportunity. This is why Srila Prabhupada keeps repeating many times in the purports how careful we should be in practicing. Of course, once you are focused in practicing Krishna consciousness, you don't allow external factors or other things to make you feel miserable anymore. You just accept it. Therefore, he says, Vishoka, free from material distress. I accept it. That's how the devotee thinks. He thinks, what is that? Tatenu kambam susamikshamanam bhunjamevam kritam vipak. He's thinking, whatever comes, so be it. I deserve it, I'll accept it. And then he also thinks that all these things that I'm experiencing, all this distress, it could have been worse. It could have been worse. Krishna is so kind. He has minimized. So that's what he's thinking. So he's free from material distress. Vijigatsa, no more taste for material enjoyment. This should be the main thing, when you are practicing Krishna consciousness. You should experience this very quickly. That you shouldn't be attracted to material enjoyment anymore. You should lose that taste, You shouldn't have that. You should have a higher taste. Chant more, read more, go out on Harinam, participate in temple activities. If you're free, nothing else to do, if your mind is too strong, come to the temple, sit down, sing some bhajans to the Lord, ask them to help you. And do more austerities, like Ekadasi Vrat. Maybe if you can, chant more rounds, maybe 32 rounds. Srila Prabhupada said minimum 16. He didn't say you can do, you shouldn't do more. You can do as much as you want. So Ekadasi Vrat, you can do extra rounds. Make the day before Ekadasi, make some sankalpa, say I will chant so many for the pleasure of the Lord, so that He will bless me. So you can do that. You can get a group of devotees together. Do my Guru Maharaj used to do 64 rounds, so he would stay overnight with the devotees. They all sit together and they say, hey, what are you doing? So get up. So everyone encourage each other, so they stay. But once you do that, some of you won't be able to do any work next day. So it may not be practical. But as you're retiring, you can try it out and see how it works for you or not. And apipata, no desire except devotional service. Okay, so That means don't do any other thing. You don't need to do anything. If you have children who they're grown up, they should do their own thing. Don't go and take care of your grandson or granddaughters. Your job is finished. You already raised your son and daughter. If they can't do their job, then what are you doing? Which means you want to come back and do this again. That's what it is. You're still attached to those kind of things. You should give up those. It should be single pointed. Eke Nanda, Eke Kuru Nandana. You please, be one pointed in your devotion. Then Satyakama desires only truth. Only speak the truth. Don't be afraid to tell people the truth. Anudvegam karam vakyam satyam priyayitam. Where Krishna says, you can speak the truth, but say it in a way people can understand why you're saying it like that. Not in an aggressive tone to put people down. No. We say it so that they understand what is good for them and that we are their well-wishers. So that's how we are speaking the truth, And then Satya Sankalpa, because he is following so nicely, particularly in his service to Krishna, he wants to do so many other things. Krishna becomes so captured by that heart of that devotee that if he wants to, he's thinking, I want to make nice garland. And so all of a sudden somebody will come and say, we've got so much extra flowers, do you want? So this is Satya Sankalpa. Your desire is fulfilled by Krishna. Which you shouldn't, but because Krishna is captured by your devotion, he will do that. Or in another sense, you can say, one who Satya Sankalpa, his desires are aligned with Krishna's will. You can also say like this. So, Srila Prabhupada also highlights the word Mahima. There's two meanings. I'm not a Sanskrit person, but I'll just highlight what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Srila Swami says. Srila Swami says, Mahima means liberation in this life, Jivan Mukta. Vishwanath Chakravarti, Mahima, he says returning to Vaikuntha. Whereas here, Sukadev Goswami, when he says Mahima, he's saying attaining qualities similar to the Lord. Sadhyarmya Mukti, same qualities. So basically, when we say liberation, sometimes people say Mukti. What is Mukti? For some people, Mukti means going to the impersonal. But for us, whenever Srila Prabhupada uses that, the context is very important. So we know here the Mukti means going to Vaikuntha. Okay. For others, just getting some freedom from the three modes of material nature. That is also, for some people, that is Mukti. For others, you can also say when you are not taking birth again, that is also Mukti. Okay. Or free from sinful life is also Mukti. No more distress, so you're free in that sense. So what are the lessons you can take home? That leadership must be guided by wisdom, and the wisdom is coming from the Brahmanas, because they rely on the scripture. And if you, in the 6th canto, you will, when the Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas are speaking, when the Vishnudutas ask the Yamadutas, what is Dharma and so on, then you see how they answer. They say that it is Vishnu himself, it is Narayana itself. The Dharma, religious principles are actually Narayana himself. It's coming from his breathing. And so we can understand that the Brahmanas are not making this up. They're just following the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it is not, the point Srila Prabhupada highlights in the purport is retirement is compulsory. It's not optional. Okay. take home. You know, you all better go and start planning how you're going to retire, how fast, how soon. It begins now, actually. As soon as you take up your sadhana, regulated principles, and then whatever desires you have that's material, just either you use it in the service of Krishna or you don't try to get it out of your system. So that's very important, you know. So you will find that the whole dharma here, and particularly in this, is that the Maharaj Navi's life is based on religious principle, Vedic lifestyle, you know. And he's showing that even if you have so much power, the power one day is gone. You cannot take it with you, okay? And of course, your duties, whichever duties all of you are doing, it's important you do it properly. And then when you take up renunciation, it should be a joyful experience. You shouldn't feel, oh no, I have to give up, right? Now, generally, if the leadership is not good, they will cause a lot of problems among the society. If the leadership, as in the case of King Nabi, you see that because he's such an amazing king, he's naturally pulling the people away from, no, he's actually he's actually pulling them away from selfishness. But the current society, the leaders are pulling people from selflessness. Right? You can see everyone becoming more and more selfish. If you have too much power and you don't know how to apply, you know, psychologically, your brain also changes. You want to control everything. Yeah? There are, what is that? This research shows that the people in authorities, in power, you know, they become more optimistic about risks. They think you have to take risk. Let's do it, you know. And then that's in some cases is all right, but in another situation, they think their objective is the only objective. Their view of the world is the right view. Okay, and then they don't see the repercussions of their actions on the common people. They cannot understand that it'll have a negative effect, you know. And the other thing is, the more you are attached to this leadership position, what happens is you identify with that position, that I am this person, therefore you don't want to give up. And so they are fearful. They are fear of losing their power, their position, their respect. I'm the leader, everyone comes and bows down to me. And now I'm no more, nobody will treat me like that. Huh? And I've seen this a lot, even among devotees, you know, who give up their position also. They become withdrawn. They feel that they have lost something. And the other problem is also the society, the people who, they will only go and respect the leader who's in charge, in control, right? The person who had done the service and has stepped down, people are like, I don't see you anymore. So therefore, this is a very bad thing also. Rather, it's like the parampara, right? Srila Prabhupada is our acharya, before him is Bhakti Siddhanta. Do we not respect Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur? Of course. Yeah. We should be so aware of all this acharya's position. Then next time if the guru comes and Prabhupada becomes small again. Yeah, my guru is the only one, you know, you're blinded, you know. That's wrong, that's not. So therefore you have all these psychological problems coming. And because they don't want to lose influence, respect, and position, they instinctively protect themselves. Don't want to give up the position. They call that in the modern society self-preservation. Leaders are also judged very harshly by their outcomes. So therefore, they only think of short-term goals, not long-term goals. When I say that, means they're thinking, if I'm nice to these people now, it's okay. But actually, for a leader is thinking how I can make sure these devotees are performing their devotional practices nicely so that they can continue. When I die, they can continue. You know, we should always be positively thinking like this. So, you know, we shouldn't have goals. Okay, I want to do this, but then we forget the people. I want to collect so much, but you know, who gives a damn about these people? Get their money, and then I'll use the money, but I'm not worried. So these are things that causes problem because so much pressure to deliver for a leader, right? So much pressure. So and then one of the things that happens is that as you become a leader, you have less friends because you make choices that many people may not like. In the beginning, you are one of the people, part of the family, and then you look at the leader and say, "This guy don't know what to do. This guy don't know what to do. She doesn't know," and so on. Then they put you as the leader. And then the others all turn around and say, "Hey, this guy don't know what to do. This guy don't know what to do." So it's very sad when we don't work together. Srila Prabhupada, in many, many letters you read, he always encourages everyone to work together. You know? But we can't see that sometimes. You know? We have identity crisis when we become a leader. And when you're a leader also, especially in ISKCON, it's very hard for anyone to inquire or question some actions also because of the structure we have also. And the way it's done also, we don't teach people how to address concerns. Rather, it's always in the mood of, you know, I'll destroy you, you know. Yeah, yeah. So therefore, you have a lot of problems where I think there should be a kind of education where from the very beginning people come to our movement. They are told what they are supposed to do, what is the goal of life very clearly. You know, tattoo it on their forehead. You know, it's about going back to God. It's not about holding positions or anything like this. Yeah. Yeah, it's just a service, you know. If you travel a lot, you'll see the simple devotees are the one who actually going back to God most of the time. Yeah, because they are so dedicated, so surrendered to all the external factors that are disturbing everyone. But they're like, yeah, well, I'm here. I have my Lord. I'll take care of them. You know. And so they give their heart like that, you know. And then externally, if you go out, when we are humble, people think we are weak, you know. So therefore, leaders also feel that if they are humble, people will take advantage of them. So they're like very aggressive sometimes, very authoritative. But actually, if you're very selfless and you want to help others, that's actually a strength. No? It's a strength. And then trying to deal with so many problems, leaders in our movement, so many problems. Even family problems, they will come to the leaders and say, my child is doing this, my husband is doing that, my wife is doing this. It's like they have to be the marriage counselor, the judge, the jury, apart from being an executioner, but they have to be all that, you know. So therefore, there's what we call a moral fatigue. How do you judge in this situation? How do you judge in another situation? A lot of ethical decisions become very difficult, you know. and it drains your energy. You know, you will tell them, and then they'll go and say to another person, and the other person will say, no, this is bad advice, and so they come back, and then they will challenge you again. So it's not easy being a leader, but you can see King Nabi, how he has a support system, and his support system is the Brahmanas. Yeah, a group of personalities who purely and truly understand the scriptures so that they can give him advice. So in the same way, although we may be the main person, but we should have a group of intelligent people who are very objective, and they shouldn't even know what the problem or who the problem is. You should just give them the problem statement, and then ask them what are the givens and what are the takeaways from that. Yeah. So we should be careful. If we are not aligned with Krishna's will as a leader, then our inner enemies will come out. You know, Bhakti Tirtha Swami gives an example from a Red Indian folklore where they say, you know, do you feed the good dog in your heart or the bad dog? Which one do you feed? And that is the dog that will manifest. Yeah. So leadership is important, you know. Yeah. You can go to many courses out there, leadership courses, but mostly they don't emphasize Krishna in it, the purposes behind why a leader should behave in a certain way. You know? So training is important. Clear values should be understood, our value system, everyone should understand. And at the same time, be very accountable for, okay, I did this, I accept the mistake. And then you find that way you can raise the consciousness, the collective consciousness of the society you are in. Okay, so I think I've said enough. I tried to touch on a lot of things, but I hope it's good enough. Comments, questions, corrections, reflections?
I was just going to say, in this day and age,
Yeah.
The politicians don't listen to the Brahmanas and the scientists, that instead they grew. And I was just thinking of an example. With climate change, the scientists are always telling politicians about climate change.
Yeah.
And they're always deliberately denying it and saying, no, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And so instead of relying on their wisdom, instead they do the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Very difficult, actually, this age. There's a new generation of leaders. They follow in the footsteps of the Acharya, who is now the President of the United States. Yeah. Yeah. So therefore, they think, it's like the philosopher René Descartes, I think, therefore I am, so these people, something similar, they think, I know what is right, so I'm telling you, it doesn't happen because, I'm okay. It's just like in a room, if there's air conditioning, you can get 10 people to come into the room, and every one of them will say, the temperature is good, or it's too warm, or not nice, or too cold. This is how it is. So we are not objective enough to say what it is. We are overwhelmed by different scenarios in life. The difference is the modern day leaders, they are not self-controlled, first of all. Their senses are not controlled. If your senses are not controlled, then you have no right to actually be a leader. Okay? But that's what the common people are themselves not self-controlled. So they identify with people who are just like them, and then they vote for them. So Prabhupada says, this democracy is nonsense, it's more demon crazy. That's what he said, yeah. So you should be careful. Sometimes even among devotees, they want to have some form of democracy. But it should be very carefully valued, and then you can say, okay, we'll take what the majority is saying. Yeah. Do you want paneer for festival, or you just want simple prasadam for the festival? So then you can do by voting. But when it comes to very high level kind of managing people's lives religiously and so on, then you cannot give to a common voting system. It doesn't work. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Anyone else? Any? Prabhu? He's very exalted, learned. Sadhu.
Hare Krishna
Anything
Prabhu.
else?
Yes,
Any
it's
reflection?
yes. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
But because the microphones are currently set up the way they are, the only way we'll hear them is if I turn up my laptop. Please go ahead, Surendra from Melbourne.
Hello, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay. In olden days, as we discussing, people retired, people and kings retired to the forests. You not listen. You can't hear.
No,
Okay.
we can hear.
I can't hear.
The whole temple room can hear you.
Can you
Okay.
put the mic close? Yeah. Okay, go.
Well,
Yeah.
in olden days, in Vedic times, peoples and kings retired to the forests, retired, say, to Varanasi or Badrika ashrams. But even when they retire there, they still need things to survive for their life's necessity: food, water, shelter, and all of that. So those places would have looked miserable because there are old people, diseased people there. How did that look like in those days then? And was there any point for them to retire to those places, imagining there will be God there and God will take them to heaven? Or they could have done the same thing from where they resided. They had the home, food, shelter, and then did penances. So did that place look miserable, or was that idea was not right? How do you explain?
What was he saying? Yeah. Well, Haribol. There's echo.
He was saying that if you retire to like Bhadavik ashram,
Yeah.
how do you know you're going to be able to maintain yourself because you won't have any food or water? And so how can you
Yeah,
retire?
there's plenty of water, but don't know about food, other food. What kind of food you want? Yeah, I think you're worried about your needs now. Generally, when you are not at the stage of renunciation, you will think of all these kind of reasons. What about going here? What is going there? One who's retiring, in the case of Navi, he's already practiced Krishna consciousness to the point that he has 10% faith in the Lord. Vahami aham, Krishna will take care of you. When we don't practice properly, then we see all these material problems that I don't have sufficient, I don't have this, what about this? You know, all the mind plays tricks, so much negativity comes in. But you have good examples. You can read all throughout the Bhagavatam, so many nice examples. And then not only that, there are devotees who have also taken this seriously and gone and moved to Mayapur and so on. One of the reasons why Srila Prabhupada even set up Mayapur temple with facilities that are very nice is because of all of us, the modern devotees. We need some of these nice facilities, otherwise we can't even practice properly. So the facilities are there. No one is asking you to go to Badrika Ashram. But if you want to, then you should go there, study the place, see what you need, and then you practice for the next 30 years how you can give up everything and settle there. Instead of just saying, oh, this is not practical and that is not practical. You can take your $1 million to Badrika Ashram and still know you can't buy anything. I can guarantee you sometime. So we don't think like that. The whole point is how shall I give up the attachments I have in this material world? And then you do service daily and beg the Lord, give me this wisdom, give me this ability that I can love you. This is more than what we are supposed to think. Our survival is actually in the hands of the Lord if you surrender completely. Otherwise, you are thinking you are the one who is going to save yourself. That doesn't work. Ultimately, mercy comes from the Lord. It is causeless. You cannot demand this to happen. And if you want to have a good life there and then maintain yourself, then you can come back again and again and again ad infinitum. Yeah. So this is how it is. So your question may sound very rational from an ordinary perspective, but from a devotee's point of view, this is not a rational question because you are thinking they will not have the mercy of the Lord. One who really practices, he gets the mercy. Why do you have such doubts? For one who is doubtful in this life, there's no happiness in this nor in the next life. Krishna says very clearly in the 4th chapter. So we shouldn't have such thoughts in our heart. If you have, then try to pray to the Lord and say, why am I developing such doubts when I know this is the ultimate action for myself? This is what I'm supposed to behave. This is how I have to practice. So this is important. We need to have this kind of actions. And also look for devotees who are practicing renunciation. Look for devotees who are your well-wishers. They will elevate your consciousness so that you will not fall into these trappings of the mind. Anyway, I don't want to go into this. I'll get too fired up. Forgive me if I come across very irrational or anything, but I'm just stating the facts. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Anything else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Kadamri Radha speaking.
Not
Thank
the
you
same
very much.
person.
Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes, Madam, yes.
Oh, let me turn this off.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, this is Kadamri Radha. Thank you very much for such a wonderful class. I just have one comment. Srila Prabhupada said that our temples, our ISKCON temples, wherever they are, the Vrindavan is there. So we should think about that. If we follow the regular things which we happen in the morning, Mangal Aarti, and after that, we have got Darshan Aarti, then we have Bhagavatam class. Why I'm saying is that I actually every day, because it is so convenient for me. I was in 2 years and I was in Vrindavan, but due to my health challenge, myself and my Prabhu, we had decided that we will live in Vrindavan, but it was Krishna's desire or whatever it is, we have to come back to Brisbane. And I just follow because my heart is always, and I just tune on after this class, the Vrindavan, and I will attend Mangal Aarti over there and follow all the programs in Vrindavan itself. So my point here is that we don't have to leave home and go anywhere. As long as our consciousness is there, then the temple which we have, which we try to attend regularly, the programs, then of course we are in Vrindavan. That's all I wanted to say, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vaibhava Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for your wonderful class.
One more,
Yeah.
one more.
Thank you for that nice comment. Yeah. Sure.
Haribo. Okay.
Yes.
Can you hear me, Prabhu? Yeah. Oh. Haribo.
Oh.
Okay. Sorry, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for your wonderful class. I really enjoyed it. Prabhu, with regards to the nice question that Shalendra Prabhu has asked, he's asked a practical question that applies in this day and age. So the point is that, yes, I agree with Kadamba Radha Mataji, and what she said is also, in that comparison, I was just reading in Canto 2, it says Tirtha. Tirtha does not necessarily mean a place of pilgrimage, but rather a place where you can hear the holy names, you can hear the glories of the Lord. So in those days, what must have happened is, if you notice that they went to the forest, because all the sages were in the forest, and it was a perfect opportunity for them to minimize material attachment and then to hear the holy names. But Srila Prabhupada makes very nice arrangements for us so that in this current day and age, we don't have the faculty or the ability to go live in the forest, so that we can still live in a situation where we can focus our mind on Krishna consciousness rather on the maintenance of the body. So just a little expansion on that. So basically, it is a very prevalent question. We are not great renounced sadhus in that respect, so we can just leave and go and sit in the forest somewhere in this day and age. But yes, in previous ages, the facility was better there. And if you're looking at Lord Ramachandra's pastime, when he went to the forest, they had a wonderful time there. There was so much of fruits and there were berries and there was peace, there was quiet. And in that time, I remember, I think at the end, it was mentioned that they couldn't believe how fast the time went in respect to how much enjoyment that they had over there. So yes, the facility was better then. There was a lot of berries and fruits and stuff like that. And then as they got older, as they got more mature, they renounced more. But in this day and age, we better go to a place where we can hear the holy name, and that's also a place of pilgrimage. Thank you very much, people.
Thanks. All right, Grantara Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Grace Radha Krishna Prabhu ji ki jai.